Right, so I'm going to make some mackerel feathers and some sabikis. I do it every year. I try and make as many as I can while I've got spare time because they're getting expensive now. So yeah, this is just my little setup here. A few bits and bats. You can use all kinds. That there is just from Temu hooks. I think these are a relatively small hook. So I was using them for herring. I think they're size 6, mustard, God knows. So I tie mine really simply. Just the camera here you can't really see, but just wrapping it down the shank of the hook and whipping it on with some cotton. I know there's some fancy knots out there, some neat line layers you can put on, but it is time consuming, but in my opinion anyway, and I'm not the best at tying them knots. All I'm doing is running a little length of that sparkly, there you go, you can just about see it now, just down the shank of the hook, stopping before the eye, and then with just some cheap cotton, just whipping it on. Really tight layers, and then yeah, for about half a centimetre, just hold it in place, and then you can finish it. I'll show you in a sec. You can finish it with shrink tubing, clear nail varnish, super glue, just something to stop it all coming undone really. Just a couple of granny knots or a double granny knot just to secure it, stop the cotton coming undone. The camera does get a bit better focusing as well, you should be able to see it a bit better in a minute. So that's it as it stands at the minute. So just a bit of cotton wrapped around the shank. I will say sometimes though that bait holder hooks with the outgoing barbs on the back of the shank can be quite good. Sometimes they can slide back down the shank even after it's been treated with super glue, but that's after quite a while, and they still work as they are. But I do tend to use bait holder hooks for that reason. So just whipping another one up now. Once you get in the swing of it, you can fly through them. The material, you can see there's some clear stuff with sparkly bits in it, and the pink stuff with sparkly bits in. I'm sure it was from Temu or Amazon. A massive bag of it for a couple of quid, and then I just cut it down to size, depending on if I'm making mackerel feathers, sabikis. But I think doing this a good few hours last year, just in my downtime, I made over 150 sets of feathers. That there, I've just had another hook to the back end of the material, split it down the middle. You've got two little feathers there, and you're not wasting the feather material. And I can genuinely say as well that these will last so much longer than the shop bought ones. Just showing you there's some super glue. Sometimes I'll just put a bit around the cotton. This here is the shrink tubing. That's quite wide, that, to be fair. I had that left over from some big boat feathers I was making. But it still does shrink down to, I think that's about 3 mil that I've got in my hand. Should have used 2 mil or 1.5 mil. So just putting a little sleeve of it over where I've whipped, and then just burn it on, and that really does tighten down onto it. So I was saying before that they can slip down the shank. That's a rarity, and that's usually after a good few sessions have been abused by pollock and small fish on the reef. They'll pull it down, but with a bait holder hook, which I'd normally use, I just didn't have any at this point. There's never been an issue, and these will outlast any shop bought feathers. I say any, that's quite a bold statement, but most shop bought feathers. I've used the same sets on the boat and the shore for 2 or 3 sessions. This is stuff I've just found, this black shrink tubing, and you'll see what I do. I use that on the pink feathers, but yeah, I just experiment with different bits and bats, and they cost nothing to make. So this is a pink feather I'm knocking up now. Pink had always been my go-to choice, or colour, in general. Certainly for pollock and herring. If you've watched any of my boat videos, you'll see I use a lot of feathers. It would be so expensive for me to buy them. You know, some days I can go out and lose 20-30 sets, and that's not even exaggerating. Some days I can go out and use the same set, depending if I'm just fishing for mackerel, but sometimes over the wrecks and reefs, and I'm looking for the bait fish. It probably works out at about 10-20p a set, and it's quite therapeutic doing it, to be fair. So this is the black shrink tube, and I like using this on these, whether or not it's they just look really cool. A bit of black on the front. That's the proper size shrink tubing that I should have been using for the clear stuff. I think that's 1.5 mil. But you can get boxes of it, like that little box in the background there. That was about £2. That's going nowhere, that. As you can see, I've knocked a few up there. It's probably taken me about half an hour, but I've made enough feathers already at this point to do a couple of sets. And I am going quite slow for the purposes of trying to keep what I'm doing in view of the camera. And the bigger the feathers, the easier they are to tie. But yeah, basically just whipping it round as if you would, you're making a freshwater or a trout fly. And I've genuinely not ever had one come undone. And the material's a bit plasticky, if that makes sense. It's quite firm. It doesn't snap, it doesn't get bitten off, it doesn't fray. And if you use decent quality hooks like these mustard ones that I'm using now, they don't rust either. They will over time, but I've bought sets of feathers in the past and they've fallen apart within a few casts, a few mackerel, and the hooks have started to go minging after half an hour in your box, maybe more than half an hour. So yeah, just put a bit of shrink tubing on, mould it around with your finger, and get it tight down to the shank. The hooks are the only thing that I probably wouldn't scrimp on, because it defeats the whole object of making them yourself, really. If you're going to get one use out of them, they're going to bend out and snap and rust. It's quite demoralising when it's taken you so long to put a set together. So yeah, the material you use, the cotton, the shrink tube and everything else, even the line, the snoods, the rig body line, the clips and swivels, you can go cheap on. But the hooks are the only thing that really I'd pay that bit extra just for peace of mind, really. In one of my videos that I put on where I was taupe fishing, just before I went out, I stopped at a reef and I had some of these tiny feathers on that I made. It was a wreck, and I had a £7 pollock on similar feathers that I'd made, and it handled it perfectly. But I know if there were these cheap shite hooks, probably wouldn't have landed that fish, and I was only fishing for little pouting for bait. therapeutic bit for me, this, just burning all the shrink tubing onto the shanks of the hook. Here's the finished result here. They're ready to get snooded up. They look quite cool. I'll put a few beads and bits of loomy on there as well, because I was making these to go and target the herring at night. They're just bits of moon glow, loomy beads, whatever I had knocking about in the tackle box. So this is the bit, the easy bit. So I'm using Powerflex Ultima 18 pound, 20 pound snood line. But your snood's about 4 or 5 inches off the main rig body, just to give them a bit of movement, but so they're not flapping around and getting stuck and tangled around your rig body. Rig body wise, I think that there is £60. Any'll do. Just normal blood knot, whatever it is, half blood knot. Stick a little loomy bead on. Just a bit of added attraction. It's not essential. Certainly not at the not in the daytime, but the herring I've been catching have been morning and evenings. So stick all the snoods on these. I'll show you a couple of ways on how to put them on the main rig body. So that's them there. They're ready to go on to a length of £60 rig body, swivel at one end, clip on the other. So this is the bit where the camera really does fail me, but I'll try and talk you through it as much as I can. Just a little snap swivel. You can use clips, anything really. Little oval split ring, that's just for your lead. A couple of stainless swivels. Whatever you've got in your tackle box, or you can put a loop either end. If you're fishing really rough ground and you know you're probably going to lose a good few sets, stick a loop at the top for your main line to attach to. Stick a loop at the bottom for your lead. Just keep them simple. So all I've done there is I've ran the snood, you'll see now, ran the snood with the feather at the end down the main line, and just putting 2 turns in it to stick it on, pulling them both down together. It really is that simple, and again, I've never ever had one come undone. That's the easier way I do it. Probably about 12 inches apart on the main line. There we go. So just a double overhanded knot, snood parallel to your main line. Tie it on. Give it a really good pull. Get any slack out of it. and they're going nowhere. This one here, oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's just me attaching a snap swivel. And then you can put as many on as you want, so 4, 3 even if I'm on a boat. Sometimes only fish with 3, up to 5 or 6 really, whatever you want to stick on there. This is the other way I was gonna show. I think that's where we're up to now. Don't think I'm actually showing you very much here. I think I'm out of shot. Right, so yeah, this is a double overhanded knot on the main line. Pull it down. Don't pull it down too much, just until it turns into a figure of 8. Thread your snood through one of the openings of the figure of 8. And then back down the other one. Trapping your main line, trapping your snood line by pulling the main line. So you'll end up with your snood and then just a granny knot, a blood knot. Pulling that back down onto the snood, to the main line. And that'll stand proud off your rig body. Just keep going until you've got enough feathers. It is quite a therapeutic and very rewarding way of stocking your feather rig wallet up, and I'll put a couple of pictures in now of fish that I've had on the feathers, just to prove they work. And if you do go back through my old videos, the videos that I put on there, you'll see that these are the feathers that I use. Very, very, very rarely, if ever, use feathers that I've bought, unless I've had to go and buy some because I've run out of Sabikis or something, but I've never run out of Makerel feathers, that's for sure. So give it a shot, get creative, and yeah, there's pretty much nothing you can't use as the material for it. I've used Paige's fake plants, like the fake feather type things. Pampas grass it's called actually, from the range. I got a bollocking for cutting that up because it was ideal for the white rig body, the white feathering that comes off it. She thought that her fake plants had got alopecia at one point because I was just pulling chunks out of it, making feathers. It didn't go down well. But yeah, thanks for watching. Probably won't do loads of tutorials, but a couple of people have asked me in the past how I make my feathers, and there you go. It really is that simple. So enjoy. Thanks again.